joining, but do want to get started here. Just some quick housekeeping items. So we are recording this session, and a link to the recording and this deck will be sent out to everyone who has been registered via Luma, all the emails on the registration after this session. If you have the link, likely that means because you registered and we have your email. So we will get you this recording and this deck that we're presenting today after this session, as we know that will be helpful to review, and hopefully you can be present and not feel like you have to take down notes and all of that, but you'll have it to review later. So quickly, I'm going to go through the agenda, and after that, we'll allow you all to get to know a little bit more about Grid 110, our mission, our model, our values, as well as our team, our community, and our portfolio founders, some of who may have referred you to us, or you may know us from an event or other community engagements that we've hosted. And then we'll move on to the Idea to Launch Bootcamp, which is, of course, the purpose of this info session. So getting into the nitty-gritty of the format of the bootcamp, different perks and expectations. We'll also have a chance to hear about some bootcamp alumni from last year. And then we'll get into a few application tips and guidance that is hopefully helpful as you're working on your applications. And lastly, we will have ample time for open Q&A. If you are going to be popping questions in the chat as well, we do have Marley on our team monitoring the chat in the meantime, but otherwise, please hold any off-mute questions until open Q&A, and at that time, we will be calling folks up to ask questions. All right, so now at this time, I will hand it over to Shrina to kick us off with a little more about Grid 110.
Thank you so much for that intro, Maya, and welcome everyone to this info session. We are so excited to have all of you here. My name is Shrina Karani, and I am the Executive Director of Grid 110. And we are an organization that is really here to ensure sort of the dream of entrepreneurship, right? So as we think about access to really making changes and solving problems in our community, we believe that that's something that everyone should have access to, that's something that everyone should have the chance to really be able to go forth and get all the support resources along the way to actually allow them to be successful. But we know that's not what the current landscape looks like. And so we're here to make sure that you get all the support that you need and a strong community alongside you that will be there to support the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur. If you can go to the next slide, Maya. In terms of how we do that, so first and foremost, I think one of the things that makes Grid 110 different is the fact that we're focused on community. So we have cohort-based programming because a lot of the time, being an entrepreneur can feel really isolated and really lonely. And we want to make sure that you have a community of founders who are right there alongside you, who are experiencing the same growing pains that you are and can really help you problem solve. In terms of our curriculum, a big part of our focus is making sure that we are collecting feedback and actually implementing that feedback for everything that we do. So we're not recycling curriculum from 8 years ago from when we first started, because with all the changes in AI, with how many different tools that you now have available to you, we want to make sure that you're equipped to really run the best possible business that you can, and that you can have the access to the latest resources and information to really just make things easier on you. And last but not least, we are a nonprofit. And so it's no cost, no equity. And a big part of our mission is just making sure that this incredible community and this very refined and focused curriculum and education is available to anyone and everyone. And then a part of that is making sure that you don't have to pay for it. So we're excited to be able to offer those services to everyone here. In terms of who we are and what we value, I think this slide is one of my favorites because it really sort of touches on who we are as an organization. I've talked about community, and I think that's a word that a lot of groups throw around. But what it means to us is making sure that we're creating a space where you can be vulnerable, where you can ask the questions that you might be coming up with 1,000 different answers when you Google it, or you're asking ChatGPT and you're like, I don't really know what I should be doing. And you might not have the sort of access to whether it's experts or resources around you. And we want to make sure that we're cultivating that community that's there for you. So it's not just about creating that space. It's how do you feel in that space? Do you feel seen? Do you feel heard? Do you feel like you're supposed to be there? It's a big part of, especially for underrepresented entrepreneurs, to go through imposter syndrome. And so we want to make sure that you feel like you deserve to be here, you deserve to be building your business, and you understand that the fact that we all come from so many different backgrounds is actually a point of leverage and can be something that you can use to your advantage when you're building your business. A big part of how we operate is making sure that, especially because it's, no cost, no equity, nothing's really holding you here, what you're going to get out of this program and of being a part of our community really also comes down to what you're willing to put in, right? So if you're able to show up, if you're able to be there for other entrepreneurs and founders in your cohort, you'll really find that in our community, we have a huge sort of sense of generosity and people willing to step up, people willing to really come in and help you brainstorm a problem that you're finding or help connect you to someone in their network if you're looking for a business development opportunity. And so generosity and sort of being able to really see so almost like a selflessness in terms of how you're building your business really just helps everyone around you, and it ultimately helps your business as well. And the fourth one that I want to touch on is empathy. A lot of the business world is very cutthroat. A lot of this world doesn't necessarily create room for empathy and for really both being able to share vulnerably, but also having the ability to listen. And I think a big part of how Grid 110 operates and how we really want to build our community very intentionally is that sense of empathy. So that's just something that we always want to start out with and remind people of. So when we go into kicking off a new program, we all sort of have a sense of why we're here and why we're doing this. And so with that, I would love to introduce the rest of the team. I will pass it off to Allie to introduce herself.
Thanks, Shrina. I'm Allie Zafiris. I'm the Director of Operations here at Grid 110. Yeah, super excited to be chatting with some familiar but also new faces that we see here today. And yeah, just happy to have the time to give you a bit more info about this bootcamp. So I'll hand it over to Maya from here.
Thanks, Allie. Hey, everyone. My name is Maya. I'm the marketing lead here at Grid 110, working on all things marketing, comms, and community. It's really awesome that I get to amplify our founders' stories and really reach the amazing all of you who are here today, whether it was from getting you to sign up for our info session through social media or personal email communications, and just getting to know you a little bit more and hopefully have you join our community. And I will pass it off to Marley.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marley Crow, and I'm the Program Operations Associate.
Awesome. Thanks, Marley. I think so. Michelle and Eunice aren't on the call today, but Michelle is our executive assistant and really helps make everything happen behind the scenes. And Eunice is our program intern who has been an amazing addition to the team over the past couple months. So from here, we will go into a little bit more about our founder portfolio and impact. So we wanted to highlight the make of this incredible founder community and the impact that we've had as an organization. So here's just a few of the faces from our alumni network of over 400 founders, as Shrina said, everything that we do here at Good 110 is for our founder community, in service of that community, and growing that in LA. So 94% of which identify as a person of color or woman, while 77% of our portfolio have a founder that identifies as a person of color, 70% as a woman, 54% as a woman of color, and 14% as part of the LGBTQIA plus community. So we're super proud of these numbers given the numbers of the larger entrepreneurial ecosystem, but we know there's still a lot of work to do here. So next, as an organization, with the help of some of our incredible partners, we've distributed just over $2.3 million in non-dilutive capital. Our alumni have also gone on to raise over $123 million in various forms of external funding, and alumni have created over 622 jobs locally here in LA. These are some metrics that we've measured from the start of Grid 110 and we care a lot about. But again, this is just a snapshot of kind of the work we're doing in this impact space. So we've also supported over 300 companies, 441 founders, hosted 26 cohorts of founders that span across 40 different industries here in LA and beyond. So next, we just wanted to highlight a few of our partners and community perks that we're connected to in this ecosystem. Below the line is a snapshot of just a few of the over 50 tools, platforms, and perks that you'd get access to through the participation of this program. Maya will talk a little bit more about that later, but just a sense of kind of the larger ecosystem that we're connected to, and who we often call on to come into our programming or come to events in this startup space. So from here, I will hand it over to Maya.
Awesome. Thank you, Ali, Sheena, and the whole team for getting us started. So now let's get right into the bootcamp, the reason why we're here today. And we're just going to go through, getting a little bit more into the details, really help you assess if this bootcamp is right for you. And if so, help you be on your way to a successful application. So what is the Idea to Launch Bootcamp? Well, every company and every founder starts with just an idea, right? That is kind of like the seed that begins the beautiful journey of a company. And kind of the next fundamental step to getting your idea off the ground, right, is getting something to launch. So putting something out there. But what needs to happen for you to get, that's like a big leap, right? To get just from an idea to having something out there in the world, ready to do business. And that is what this bootcamp is kind of all about. So we're here to help you every little step of the way, which it is definitely not a linear process either. So we've had founders who have even pivoted within this time or gone back to different ideas, or as you're exploring your customers and doing fleshing out your MVP, it can be quite a journey of many ups and downs. And so that is exactly what this bootcamp is here to help you with. The fundamentals, getting into the fundamentals. So the exact format of this bootcamp, this is going to be a 6-week boot camp full of self-directed asynchronous learning, which will be kind of the one half of the boot camp, and then the other being weekly 1-hour synchronous or live sessions on Zoom. So that asynchronous piece is very important because we will give you content to review and also kind of like half prepared before the in-person, or not in person, but like live sessions on Zoom. And that's really going to be helpful for setting you up for that, making the most of that hour of learning all together live. And in addition, we will have opportunities for in-person community events and kind of engagements. If perhaps you have gotten to know Grid 110 through one of our community events. And not only do we host many public events in the LA ecosystem, but we have a series of private events that are just open to our community of alumni founders. And so that is exactly what you would be joining as well. As far as the bootcamp dates, so again, we are sending this presentation out after the fact, but just to have on your radar, we do have a mandatory orientation in addition before the 6-week program kicks off. So that's just really to get through all housekeeping items and get you all set up on the platforms and tools that we use within the bootcamp. And then these are the dates for the 6-week program, as well as the times of those weekly live sessions, which are also mandatory. And Ali will chat through kind of specifics of expectations and things in a bit, but just to put these dates on your radar as you're considering the time commitments of this bootcamp. So moving on to kind of like the topics that we'll be covering within the bootcamp programming. As you'll see, we'll go through kind of a problem solution validation week, as well as customer discovery, value prop. We'll get into testing out your idea, storytelling, my personal favorite as marketing lead. And then lastly, some goal setting and prioritization to kind of round it off. What you can expect from this bootcamp is to, every session and with every piece of content, really be learning kind of like tools and strategies that you're able to immediately apply to your idea and get you closer to launching. So this 6 weeks will really help you flesh out your idea and position yourself for a successful launch within the next few months. And then as well as building relationships within the LA ecosystem. So not only are you going to join the fellow founders in the bootcamp, but you will also, again, join our community of alumni founders and our larger network within the LA ecosystem. So speaking of a few other perks that come along with becoming an Idea to Launch Bootcamp founder, you will receive Grid 110's platform perks package, which is valued at over 100K in kind of discounts and credits to various platforms and tools. I think our most popular one that I always hear founders use is our AWS cloud credits, but we also have a ton of things from Notion to Airtable to Stripe in our awesome perks package, as well as just gaining a network, right? So we are always happy to kind of like make form intros within our networks, or if you're talking about needing kind of, as Shrina mentioned earlier, whether it's like a business development opportunity, or maybe you want to partner with someone in a similar space on an event, we have tons of mentors, advisors, and community activators in our network, in addition to the very generous kind of culture in our alumni community. Many of our alumni founders are always collaborating with each other. And it's also really awesome that we are industry agnostic, so that there's kind of like a huge diversity of kind of folks in our network. And lastly, speaking of our alumni, you will join our private Slack community with all of our alumni founders who are very engaged and connected within that community, and kind of really open to chatting with any founder. As soon as they hear you're Grid 110 founder, they're like, okay. But we also wanted to mention our Launchpad extension program. So all of our bootcamp founders will be invited to apply after this 6-week bootcamp. Will be invited to apply to our Launchpad extension program. And what that is essentially 6 additional weeks of tailored programming and support to really get you positioned for launching. At that point, if you are accepted into the Launchpad extension program, you will have had 12 weeks with us. And that program actually is a little more intimate and a little more kind of further down the line to where a lot of companies coming out of that in the previous year were launched. And that brings us to the next slide. So I wanted to get into some really cool alumni who have gone through this bootcamp. The first one being Jet and Andrew, who are with AFI Outdoors. They had a really cool folding surfboard idea. They came to us the bootcamp last summer with essentially just an idea. We're like working out of their garages and still both working their full-time jobs, as many things go, and you're just starting out, being really scrappy, trying to do what you can to work on your idea. And fast forward to now, they actually went through our Launchpad extension as well, and they recently just raised $25K on their Kickstarter campaign, which was actually $5K more than their goal. They've also significantly grown their social media following. I've been like closely following along, and I'm like, you guys made use of that storytelling session, as well as establishing very key partnerships with like influencers and creators in the surfing space. And they also built out a really robust team of advisors who've been helping them on their founder journey. So we're super excited to see what's next for them. And, you know, this is just another example of an alumni you get to connect with in our network. Another really awesome story is Bijal, who was, again, also in last year's program. This is a quote from them. You can read it, but really just talking about how the boot camp allowed them to meet local entrepreneurs, connect with mentors and advisors in this community and ecosystem, and also with them being a first-time food and beverage entrepreneur. Really kind of what this program allowed them to refine and support them in everything from mindset to vision to the fundamentals of getting their business off the ground. But some highlights include, again, they just came to us with an idea, having actually wanting to open the first chai, like Southeast Asian owned chai shop in LA, which is so much more than a chai shop, but also like a community kind of gathering spot. So definitely check them out. But they launched on web and social. They also participated in numerous pop-ups, won a really cool chai off event here in LA. And they also hired an events intern because they were being invited to so many events. So everything from, you know, growing the team to growing their online presence. And then one last example, Carlos here, that I just wanted to call out for his amazing work. Carlos actually went on after the bootcamp to be accepted into our Pledge LA Founders Fund program, where he was awarded a $25,000 non-dilutive grant. He was also accepted into the Div Inc. Accelerator and pitched during their demo day, and was featured recently in the CSUN small business space. So Carlos has been doing amazing things with his company, Subware, and again, like came to the boot camp with kind of an idea, like kind of working on his business on the side, but it really allowed him to hone down, get some really awesome connections, and then go on to be accepted to some amazing opportunities following our boot camp. So all of these folks, again, are part of our alumni community. They also all went through the boot camp and went through our Launchpad extension program. So as we've been saying, this boot camp really is what you put in, you get out what you put into it. I kind of like to say it's your first kind of opportunity to work, kind of go all in on your idea, because maybe you've had it in the back of your mind and you're working on it from time to time. But we're here to really serve as kind of like your accountability buddy, because not only will you be seeing us every week and needing to prepare for the sessions and kind of do your homework, but also you're joining a community of like-minded founders who are also trying to work towards launching. And this is just kind of like your time and space to allow yourself to go all in on your idea and on yourself as a founder. So it's been really rewarding for me to not only see these businesses grow, but the founders themselves, from mindset shifts to kind of things that Trina was alluding to earlier, getting to speak in a vulnerable space and grow as people. And I'm just super excited to meet and read all the applications that come through to our next cohort. So I will stop riveling and pass it over to Allie, who's going to get more into the specifics of application, applying, and then timeline.
Awesome. Thanks, Maya. I love those founder stories. I think really helps illustrate what you get out of the program. So probably the most common question we get is this program right for me, or is my business a good fit for this program? So let's talk a little bit more about who should apply. So we're looking to work with companies currently based in LA with an interest in growing and connecting with the LA ecosystem. So you must be a for-profit business and have less than 5 employees. We're also industry agnostic. We just can't work with cannabis touching businesses. And we're looking for companies that are looking to launch within the next 3 months. Again, the term launch means different things to different companies, right? So launching could be launching your website or releasing a physical product, hosting your first event. We're pretty loose in terms of what launch means to you, but just kind of looking and preparing for launch within the next 3 months is sort of what we're looking for here. We also wanted to list out some of the expectations we have for founders in the program so that you can get a sense of if this is what you're looking for. So our expectations are that founders attend every live session, as Maya mentioned, having done the asynchronous prep work ahead of time, explored the resources ahead of the live sessions, and come ready to engage and participate in those sessions. Since we'll be hosting those on Zoom, we wanted to feel as in person as possible. So we ask that you have your camera on and are in a focused environment where distractions are eliminated and you can really get the most out of these sessions. Again, like Maya said, what you put in is what you get out. And so we ask that participants make an effort to connect with and get to know fellow boot campers, as well as our Grid 110 team, and also complete that weekly feedback that Shrina mentioned as well, in terms of how we get a sense of how everyone's doing, where we need to speed up or slow down, and just get a sense for how the bootcamp is going week to week. So next, we will talk about the application itself and how to put your best foot forward. So here are just a few of the short response questions included in the application. If you've taken a look at the application, you'll notice that there's a whole section of short response questions, open-ended. Again, because every business is different, we wanted to highlight just 2 here with you today. So the first talks about progress or traction to date. So we want to know more about the work you've done on your business. So we know that traction doesn't look the same business to business, but this is where you can share any growth you've experienced. That could be customer or user growth to external funding raise, any pitch prizes or competitions you've participated in or won. If you are generating revenue, any recent growth you've experienced. But especially for early stage companies, you might not have customers or revenue yet, and that's totally fine. You can talk about things like newsletter or waitlist growth or social media growth or recent partnerships you developed or things coming up in the future that you're working to solidify. This is, again, open-ended with the intention of allowing you to talk about your progress and your growth related to your business. And we know that it's not one size fits all in terms of traction. So just put your best foot forward and give us a sense of, what you've been working on and what's kind of coming up for you as well. So I think in the same, in line with that, we want to know about 2 milestones that you're looking to achieve in the next 3 to 6 months. That's both so we can get a sense of what you're focusing on, as well as how we can best kind of focus and support you in our efforts through the bootcamp. So again, we know that you probably have many different goals as you're building your business, but just kind of 2 that you're focusing on in the next 3 to 6 months will help focus how we can support you in the bootcamp. So next, we have a required video submission. So we ask that you create an original video that's maximum 2 minutes, introducing yourself and your company, as well as why you're interested in the bootcamp. So the video doesn't have to be anything fancy, just recorded on your phone or computer is totally fine. Just one thing we definitely want to emphasize is to test the link that you submit to us with a friend or colleague before you submit. So make sure it's viewable. We have specific instructions on the application for formatting preferences and all of that. But just make sure that we can view it. So that we can have that as a crucial part of your application. So lastly, we have a section where you can submit a pitch deck, or if you have any supplemental materials that you think would give us a sense of the work you're doing on your company. So this could, again, look like a variety of things. We've previously had people submit a kind of to-do list, KPIs, milestones that they're working towards. If you do have a pitch deck, again, that's a great spot for it. If you have any other sort of like promotional or marketing materials that you think would support giving us a sense of your business, you can add it here as well. So this is optional, but again, a great way to give us a sense of kind of well-roundedness of your company and what you're working on. So next slide. So next we'll talk about kind of some key dates and what to look for next. So our application launched on the 7th. We have the info session today, and then another office hours info session next Tuesday. So that's when you can ask questions as well. If you have specific questions, that's just an open hour where we will be available to answer those questions. And then the due date is May 27th. So keep that in mind. We won't be accepting late applications. Also, something to note is that we won't be accepting any application edits once you submit. So make sure that you've kind of checked over those things. Again, check the video link and make sure you submit when you're ready, but definitely before the May 27th deadline. And then, like Maya mentioned, the orientation will be mandatory on June 26th, and the program will begin on July 10th. So just some dates to be mindful of. Again, those are all listed on our website as well, but wanted to definitely highlight them here as you plan for submitting your application or coming to the next office hours as well. So from here, we definitely want to leave plenty of time for questions from you all. Thank you, Maya. So we can take down the deck and I will call up any questions. So if you could use the raise hand feature if you have a question that we haven't gone over that you want to ask us now. Okay, great. We'll start with Selva.
Hello, everyone. My name is Salva. I'm wondering, how many founders are you going to be accepting in this cohort?
Yeah, I can take that. I think, in our mind, we don't have a set number that we're like holding spots for, but we're really looking to work with as many kind of founders that are ready and engaged in this way to participate in the bootcamp. The point of the bootcamp is really to provide access to more founders. So we'd love to work with, as many as we can, but we don't have like a specific number that we're trying to hit in that sense.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, I see Kana has a hand raised.
Yes. Hi. So is mandatory orientation, is this going to be in person?
The orientation will be virtual. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay, got it.
yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Breon, can I say
Breon.
Okay, Breon.
No worries. No, thank you. I had a question around customer discovery. I was wondering, does Grid 110 provide resources for customer discovery, or is that primarily the responsibility of us to kind of figure out like what resources to tap to actually have like the right type of people for our target audiences?
Yeah, I can take this one. It's a bit of both. So primarily, of course, it's on the responsibility of every company. You know your company best, you know your potential customers best. And so what we're really focusing on for our curriculum is to showcase different types of pathways or ability to help brainstorm or refine who your customer would be. That being said, Grid 110 is also very embedded in the community. And so a big part of what we do as you're sort of coming in towards, settling on a specific type of customer, we often reach out to folks, experts, mentors, potentially even business development contacts in our network that we think would be a good fit for you. But ultimately, that really falls on you. And the goal of the program is to help you think more clearly about who that customer might be and sort of the best place to start.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks. I did see someone just ask, when can we apply? So the applications are now open, and we will drop the link to where you can apply in the chat as well. Any other questions that we can take on the call?
I just saw one in the chat as well from Marvin about having launched your services 4 to 5 months ago. Again, as Ali mentioned, I think Ali, you put it really well. Launch can really mean different things for different people. I've met founders too who have launched and then they've, relaunched almost, and had just had multiple different phases and kind of milestones of what could be considered launch. So if what we presented today, as far as the topics we're going through and the perks and everything that this bootcamp offers, thinks you feel as though your company and yourself as a founder would benefit from that, I would still 110% encourage you to apply. I think, that's really the biggest kind of determiner of like whether you are ready to put yourself fully into the program, and if you think what we're offering here is going to be beneficial for you to get something out of it.
Yeah, in a way, we actually want you to be a little selfish about how you think about this program, right? Like think about, is this going to be meaningful as like a step change in your business? Is this going to help you get from where you are now and sort of like Maya said, launch whatever part of it? Could be a website, it could be getting your services off the ground. It could be even just taking your idea and turning it into a real business plan. So just your interpretation of what this moment of sort of that step change looks like for you. Think about it very selfishly, like, is this something that will actually be helpful for me right now? And that's something that we actually encourage you to do with all of the different programming out there, not just Grid 110s, because at the end of the day, your time is the most valuable as a founder. So, really, really think about it as like, is this something that would be helpful for you in your journey? In terms of Salva's going to your question, there's a question around if you have a co-founder, will they also need to participate in all the live Zoom sessions, or can one co-founder represent the company? We're happy to have one co-founder represent the company and sort of bring those learning back to the rest of the team. Like I said, we acknowledge that time is your most precious resource. We just ask that you do be engaged and you are attending those sessions. I'm not sure I understand this question about putting it in manually for the video. Feel free to come off of mute or raise your hand to ask the question.
In the case that maybe you're not able to come off, if you mean, because I know we mentioned adding a link to the video, so maybe if you mean like uploading it directly to the application, if that's an option. Otherwise, I know folks have tried to like email it separately, which, as Ali mentioned, is not helpful just because we have so many applications coming in, and similar to someone trying to email to make edits. It's just hard to accept things anywhere else besides our application link. Oh, I see you said yes. So the link.
Yeah, we recommend uploading to YouTube and then sharing the link in the application.
Yeah, I'm just really making sure that those permissions are turned on for the link, because we'll run into often folks didn't give permission for us to view. And again, like we don't have time to email you and chase you down and be like, hey, your link didn't work. So it'll kind of just be like, if the link doesn't work, it doesn't work. And it's unfortunate.
Any other questions that we can answer now?
I have one. I'm not sure if it's covered in the website, but I know deadline's the 27th, right? When will you know either yay or nay by typically, or will you know nay by if you're not accepted to it?
Yeah, so I think you know, we try our best to review applications as quickly as possible, but we do spend a good amount of time with each application. So we're aiming to get back to founders by like ideally mid, but late June at the latest. Yeah, and we let everyone know once we reviewed all the applications, so it's not rolling in that way. But yeah, our goal is to get back to you as soon as we can, but typically that takes us quite a bit to just look through all the videos and application info. Yeah, so say mid to late June at the latest.
Yeah, and just to double down on the chat, what's being said in the chat, the video really is just that awesome chance for us to kind of like get to know you face to face, because we aren't having like, at least we don't anticipate right now to have like interviews on like in like a Zoom format. So that's why it's kind of really important, but it also is by no means like a HD quality video. We've had some of the best, in my opinion, I think my colleagues will agree, but some of the best videos that I've reviewed in applications is like someone just whipping out their phone, or again, you can even do it on your Zoom. And they're just very authentic. Like they're kind of showing their true selves, even like some of those that weren't super rehearsed, but you can just tell the founder is very passionate about their idea, you know, and showing kind of that side of themselves. And that's really what we're looking for.
Julian, go ahead.
Sorry, not to get too ahead of myself here, but I was curious for the Launchpad program, is that invite
Oh, you cut out,
or
I
is
think.
that anyone that in the program can apply to that as well?
Unfortunately,
it's
your audio is going in and out, Julian. It might be easier for you to pop your question in the chat and then we can take it there.
Yeah, it seemed like you were asking if the Launchpad was an invite for us, that we would be invited founders versus founders, anyone in the bootcamp being able to opt into that, I think. And so, yeah, that we'll take sort of a light application at the end of the boot camp. For anyone who's in the boot camp can apply if they're interested in that continuation program, and then we would sort of evaluate based on things we mentioned, like your participation in the boot camp and engagement, and kind of where you're at with your business, to see if we can provide that additional support to you. So yeah, I guess to hopefully answer your question, unless you clarify in the chat, that everyone from the bootcamp will be invited to apply for the extension program if you're interested.
Great, sorry about that. My internet cut out. Appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
No problem. To get to Jenny's question, if there's a conflict with one of the group sessions due to international travel or time difference, should we wait to apply for the next cycle? We encourage everyone to apply if you think that this program is a good fit. We do want to have you at as many sessions as possible. I think we'll probably be able to work with potentially one miss. Ultimately, it's a fairly short program, and if you miss one session, you're missing about 1/6 of the programming. And so it really is more of making sure that you sort of get your time's worth as you sort of go through the program. And so we will be able to, as things, we know life happens, we will be able to work with potential conflicts. But we do recommend that you sort of apply, even if you think you might have to miss one session. And then to take the next question, is there a grant that goes with this bootcamp? There is no grant that goes with this bootcamp. This is entirely an educational and community building focused program. So we tend to host a couple of programs that also have a non-dilutive funding component, which comes in the form of a grant. We will likely be hosting one of those programs later this year, but those programs are significantly more competitive and often for later stage companies. And so most likely, if you're a good fit for this program, you probably are not exactly the type of company that would be a fit for a later stage program where there are grants associated. Most of the time, those programs are for companies that are often already generating some revenue or a little bit further along.
However, I just would like to add that this could be like a really great stepping stone to getting you prepared for a program like that. As I shared, our bootcamp alumni, Carlos, was a part of our bootcamp just last summer, which kicked off in June. And then that Pledge LA program that we had hosted in kind of fall to winter, which came with the 25K grant, he did end up getting accepted to that, which I think for him, this boot camp was a wonderful kind of like segue and really helped him build his business. And then also, I personally don't know if his application for that program with the grant would have been as strong if he hadn't participated in this boot camp. And then also he kind of like already knew us in our community. So, that helped a little bit, but definitely can, just to build on Trina's point, if you can see yourself like wanting to build to that in the future, I think this is an amazing starting point. And I feel like there are founders who have eventually gotten to some sort of like monetary, not directly out of it, but another examples like the alumni who raced on Kickstarter. I know that they used a lot of connections and learnings from the program to be able to launch that and have such a successful campaign on there.
Yeah, great point, Maya. I think one other thing I just wanted to add, because we know and hear from our founder community just how big imposter syndrome is, and really like there's many ways that you can kind of count yourself out in this process. Just really encouraging anyone that's on the fence about applying. Maybe you don't know if it's right for you, or you're not sure you're at the right stage. Maybe we used phrases of topics that you haven't heard of before. Really, we encourage you to apply. Again, this is going to give you a lot of foundational kind of learnings in that way and build community, which could be so helpful to your growth. And yeah, we just often find that people kind of count themselves out even before they apply in that way. So if you're on the fence and you're not sure, submit an application. I think it's also worth in the application kind of a good exercise to, really outline some of the things that are important to us and are that you'll work through in the application as well. So again, just really encouraging everyone to apply if you're at all interested, because I think there's been a lot of founders who this has been super transformational for, that maybe went in not totally sure of what their goals were or what their direction were. And the point of this program is to really help focus you as well. Okay, well, unless we have any additional questions, we can wrap up here. I'm going to add in the chat, if you have any additional questions, feel free to email programs@grid110.org, and we'll get back to you there. We have also our next office hour session, info session next Tuesday. And again, just be mindful of the 27th deadline. We do see a major uptick in applications in the last couple hours. So just give yourself enough time, open that application well before the 27th so that you know all that you're being asked to do, including, like Marley mentioned, the video component, carve out time for that. And yeah, just make sure that you give yourself enough time to put your best foot forward before the 27th deadline. Yeah, again, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to programs. Yeah, Shrina, Maya, anything else we wanted to mention?
No, I appreciate everyone taking the time to join the call and for your interest in our program. We're really here to make sure one of the things that we really do through the applications is try to get a sense of where you are. And so we really want to build this program for you and to sort of serve you best. So really appreciate all of that. We know it takes time and work to put together these applications. So we appreciate that. And like Ali said, we have the office hours that's coming up as well in about a week. And so it might be worthwhile to sort of get started on your application if you have questions, if you're curious about what a question is trying to get at, or we maybe used a term that you're not as familiar with. We know that the startup world is filled with all sorts of lingo that tries to make people not feel welcome, and so we don't want to be a part of that. And so that's a big part of what the office hours is for, is to really help you sort of break down any questions that you have through the application. So you can almost think of it as like pacing, like open the application, get it started now, think through any questions that you have, and then you can show up to the office hours, and we're more than happy to help. Thanks again, everyone. I appreciate your time and look forward to seeing your applications.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.